Travel the country in just 30 minutes on the U-Tour bus.
I'm just coming from the home or from the palace of the Luyana. This is our story being told. Today we are reaching you from Agotima.
Journeys to explore.
From the plains to the greens to the scenery to everything. There's so much we need to do, to boost tourism around this area. That guy was just getting up.
Learn and indulge in the culture and lifestyle of the people. U-Tour shows on City TV every Saturday at 1 p.m.
Envelope yourself in the arms of nature. Rise up every day into a refreshing and transforming experience. Relax and enjoy world-class rooms, unforgettable services, and truly sumptuous cuisine. Treat yourself to the exquisite conference facilities with internet access. Take a tranquil boat ride to the beautiful Maha village. And free your spirit as you cruise along Ghana's most captivating water bodies. Party the night and the morning away in our exclusive party bus and our nightclub. Watch the latest blockbuster movies in our state-of-the-art cinema. Experience the incredible moments of your life at Maha Beach Resort, Ghana's most authentic beach resort, nestled in the heart of the Elembela district. This is Maha Beach Resort. Call 0303-977-773 and 050-157-0684. Email sm@maharesort.com. Maha Beach Resort, redefining indigenous hospitality.
This is the point of view. We're on City TV, and it's a show that brings you the right issues. We give you relevant questions, and we always get the responses that we hope to get. It's a show that's interactive. It's on Twitter, #The Point of View, and also we're live on Facebook at City TV GH. So tonight there's a big debate on Ghana's debt stock. So the minority says they bequeathed a fairly healthy economy to this government, and the debt was around 120 billion cedis. Now they're saying that this government has increased the debt stock to almost 200 billion Ghana cedis. And that's not the only problem. They say they don't have anything to show for the 200 billion they owe. So tonight I'm going to try and address this issue in a very interesting way. Stay with us on The Point of View. I'll be right back. So what we'll do tonight is there are three angles to this story. There's the NDC angle, there's the MPP angle, and there's also possibly a middle ground. I'm going to give you a hint of the middle ground. The World Bank country director is on his way out. He gave his last press conference, and he answered a few questions around Ghana's debt stock and the state of the economy. So I'm going to open with Mr. Henry Kerali. Then I'm going to bring my guest into the studio to address the issue of debt. Stay with us.
We do quote both the GDP to the debt to GDP ratio, and we also quote the revenue to debt figures. So the analysis, the debt sustainability analysis that is done by the World Bank and the IMF does look into this as a key indicator of debt distress. That analysis indicates that Ghana is at risk of high debt distress, primarily because of the revenue side, the domestic revenue being pretty weak. So I anticipate your next question would be, what should Ghana do to increase domestic revenues? Well, first and foremost, we would suggest is to broaden the tax base. So you're not simply taxing the same people, the narrow tax base, increasing their tax burden, but rather widening the net to capture a broader set of the population. So I know examples that have been mentioned before include property taxes, where collection rates are extremely low. In some municipalities, they don't even collect property taxes, but around the world, this is a major source of revenue for public purse. The informal sector. Ghana has a significant informal sector. We could do more to bring them into the tax net. It doesn't mean that the informal sector will be taxed at the high rate. No. What other countries have done, like Brazil, is to have a very low tax rate for the informal sector in order to help them to formalize and thereby be contributing to the overall well-being, not only of the taxman, GRA in the case of Ghana, but the overall well-being of Ghanaians as a whole.
On the debt to GDP, as Henry mentioned, the level of debt is a concern. The debt dynamics is a concern because Ghana remains at a high risk of debt distress because the revenues to debt service is low and because the exports to debt service is low. And so what we expect to see the government doing over time is to improve the revenue position. The export position is already improving, and we hope that will continue. Ghana has a positive balance on the external trade side, so we expect to see that continue.
Since I came to the country in 2015 up to now, debt levels are hovering just below 60% of GDP. We're talking. There have been reductions, of course, but there have also been increases for various reasons. That is one of the key challenges that the country faces. There have been challenges in the energy sector. In 2015, 16, 17, I'm sure you all remember Doomsor, which resulted in intermittent power supply. There have been challenges we'd like to point out with a very narrow economy base, mostly led by the extractives and by cocoa. So a very narrow economic base which really needs diversification. So these are the challenges, but let me finish on the positives. Ghana has seen significant growth in the past 2 to 3 years, with among the highest growth rates not only in Africa but worldwide. Ghana also saw a significant reduction in poverty levels by more than 50%. So Ghana was one of the few countries that actually met the MDG, the old Millennium Development Goals, to halve poverty by 2015. Ghana was one of the few countries that actually did that. Over the medium to long term, in the past, you could actually say that the economic growth in Ghana is the main reason why Ghana is now classified as a low middle income country, from having been one of the heavily indebted poor countries that actually received, if you may recall, the HIPIC program led by the multilateral institutions and several of the bilateral countries, where Ghana's debt, a large significant portion of Ghana's debt was actually written off. And so we would say that over the years, Ghana has been a shining light And of course, within the region, given the peace and stability in Ghana, it also means that Ghana has probably among the best prospects in the region for future growth, and therefore also for attracting investments, inward investments, to create jobs.
So that was Henry Kerali, who's the World Bank country director outgoing. So I have a big panel tonight. I have two admin people, one BCom person and one economics person. A different mixture. They are all members of parliament. So I have Honorable Kojo Oppong, Nkrumah Information Minister, who's started as a BCom graduate, worked with BAT, and then of course he moved into work at Joy FM, and now he's the Information Minister. He's also a lawyer, he's a barrister called to the Ghana Bar. He's also an MBA in finance. He's coming to this from a very interesting background. Then we have Cassiel Forson, who's an accountant, chartered accountant from the UK, MP for Ejumakun. So two MPs, minority spokesperson on finance. But both of them feel that the topic is broad enough, so they've invited colleagues from Parliament. So we have Isaac Adongo also joining the panel from the NDC side. Adongo is an admin graduate, MP for Bolgatanga Central. And then I have Ochem Abuaji, MP for Bantama. He's also a finance and admin guy. So we have a four-member panel. As you see, we have a new set for you. So we're going to have it, we are going to do a quiz fashion. I'm going to ask the NDC some questions and they'll solve. And NPP will solve their questions and we'll ring the bell. So please tell your friends this is going to be the NSMQ version of the budget and ballooning debt debate. Stay with us.
Environmentally friendly, affordable, and quality fertilizers committed to improving crop production and ensuring food security through improved yields in Ghana. This is Glofert Limited, a wholly owned Ghanaian company with a global outlook. Ghana's leading name in fertilizer production, Glofert has built a state-of-the-art 120 metric tons per hour fertilizer blending factory, the largest in Ghana. This is able to blend all types of NPK to the specific requirements of farmers. With a 45,000 metric ton warehouse, trust Glofert Limited for all types of NPKs, urea, sulfate of ammonia, potassium nitrate, calcium nitrate, boron, and many more. Glofert is currently participating in the Planting for Food and Jobs initiative under the Ministry of Food and Agriculture. Call us on 0544 339 513 or 0243 512 171. Locate our head office at number 2 Ni Amon Lane, East Legon, Accra. Email sales@glofert.com. Glofert, growing growth.
The story unfolds as Brazil Avenue gets even more suspense-filled. Carminia continues her devious schemes, but fears Rita may be onto her, although she's still oblivious of her true identity. Rita battles being exposed and is doing everything in her power to keep her true identity a secret while she plots her vengeance. Jorginho is caught between the two forces as he struggles to find his own truth. Amidst all this, the story is intertwined in love, greed, deceit, thrills, and action in the award-winning Brazil Avenue, which airs on City TV, Wednesdays to Fridays at 10 p.m. and the Omnibus on Sundays, 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Only on City TV.
Welcome back to the show. So tonight, instead of two, we have four, and we just wanted to broaden the discussion. The economy is the most important part of a country's development. So we have Honorable Isaac Adongo. He's the MP for Bolgatanga Central, and he's a product of the University of Ghana. Isaac Adongo, good to have you.
Good to be here after a very long time.
My viewers have been looking for you.
And I have been looking for them.
Okay, so thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Sat next to him is Kojo Oppong, Information Minister. This is probably his 4th or 5th event. He's done press conferences, issued a statement in the morning around 7 o'clock on the Takrady girls. They had a press conference at 3 o'clock. What else did you do before you came in? How many?
I've just been working on ensuring that we pay for our AFCON rights so that we can watch.
So you also sorting out the AFCON?
$50 million.
Wow. He went to UCC. He did BCom. He also has a law degree from GIMPA, and he's also an MBA. So Kojo, great to have you. Cassiel Forson is the Member of Parliament for Ejumaku Enyan Isiam. He is a chartered accountant, chartered in 2002, MSc in Economics and Taxation, and he's one of only 4 NDC MPs in the Central Region. You're one of the surviving 4.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, it was a tsunami. You tell us how you are going to retain your seat. And then for the first time on this show, we have the MP for Bantama. Bantama used to be the largest constituency in the country until it was cut into pieces. Honorable Daniel Ochem Abuaji is a majority spokesperson on finance. He is an admin accounting graduate, MBA chartered accountant, MBA accounting as well. He's also a certified public accountant. Great to have you.
Good to be here.
Cassiel, you brought us all this problem. Last week you held a press conference and said a lot of things. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to summarize the core argument you're making about our debt. So you have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Bernard. Let me say that, to start with, the NDC left office in December 2016 with a public debt totaling 120 billion Ghana cedis. The NPP mischievously decided to report it as 122 billion Ghana cedis, obviously changing the exchange rate at the time. The truth is that since we left office in December 2016, for you to convert the foreign debt to Ghana cedis, you have to use December 2016 exchange rate. But for some strange reason, the MPP decided to use end March 2016 to convert the exchange rate. And so therefore, it looks as if there's an additional $2 billion government debt that the NDC left. But the actual debt the NDC left behind was $120 billion. In fact, Ghana cedis. In the last MPC, the central bank governor came out with an interesting disclosure. We found it very alarming and strange, in fact very stressful to some of us, to the extent that Ghana government debt or public debt happens to be almost 200 billion Ghana cedis. In fact, to be precise, 198 point something billion Ghana cedis.
Okay.
We could see clearly an increase of about 80 billion Ghana cedis. And so therefore, we felt that there was the need for us to look at the matter and put it into proper perspective by analyzing it and to find out what is really causing it and give some caution to government. Because obviously the trajectory where we are going, if care is not taken, the country will get to a stage that will not be able to pay our debt. And already the World Bank, the IMF and all other international institutions are sending signals that clearly Ghana is a country that we are in a debt that is classified as high distress debt country. So we felt that there's the need for us to look at this matter as the official position of government and of this country, and to make sure that certain issues that we think need to be addressed are very much addressed.
So number one, the NDC gave the government gave a wrong figure.
Yes.
You left 120.
120 billion and not 120
because
billion.
of the exchange rate.
Because of the exchange rate. In fact, I think I have to clarify that.
Yeah.
The Ministry of Finance reported 122 billion. It took the Auditor General to present a document before the Public Account Committee saying that the debt is not 122 billion, but it's 120 billion.
No, the debt was not.
It was not.
So,
in fact,
so you're saying that the 120 is December 2016?
As at December 2016.
That's issue one. Issue two, they've added how much?
80 billion approximately.
New debt or old debt?
New debt. New debt.
That's issue two.
Issue two.
And issue three, you say there's nothing to show for the new debt.
Completely. And
as you don't know what is done with the money.
We've asked them because if you were to look at what is happening, 80 billion new debt, yet there's nothing for them to show us that obviously they've used A for this, B for this. So we've asked them to account.
I see your statement. You said they have used the money for
consumption,
not capital.
Yes, consumption.
Correct. I see. So that's point 3.
Yes, that's point 3.
Are those the main things? Is there, I don't know, has he left anything out?
I think the main things are things that we'll discuss as
later.
Yes.
So these are the first 3 issues.
Yes.
And then Mr. Nkrumah, you had a press conference and sought to debunk all 3.
Yeah.
So what did you say? This is by way of summary.
Yeah, Bernard, thank you. I think in response, what we sought to do was to first expose what our colleagues on the minority side were seeking to do. And what they are actually seeking to do is to do what you call a dog whistle. Send a message out there that the Akufo-Addo administration, and if you listen to the subsequent press conferences they have had, or subsequent media engagement they've had after the original press conference, they essentially go out there making the argument that the Akufo-Addo administration has borrowed 80 billion Ghana cedis. And like he rightly did, they strike the difference between the 122 and then the 197. First of all, it's not even 80 billion. If you do the math, it's 75 billion. It's not 80. Second,
how can that be?
Their exit figure is 122,263 at an exchange rate of, I think, 4.18. I have provided your production team with some numbers, and if you have the opportunity to project it on the screen, I'd like to take your viewers through. Ghana's debt is in 2 parts. There's the external debt component, which is all the foreign loans that we take. Some are in CD, some are in dollars, in Deutsche Mark or yen or euro or whatever. And then you have the CD component. As at December 2016, our external debt was $16,460,000,000. And then the domestic debt was 53,403,000,000 cedis. Now, if you convert that 16 billion at the prevailing exchange rate at the time, it brings you to 68 billion in CD terms.
So this is what he's talking about. So just for the viewers, this was provided by government. External debt 2016, 16.4.
Yes.
External debt in Ghana cedis 68.5. 0.85. What exchange rate are you using?
We are using, and you see it down, the exchange rate as at 31st December 2016.
4.1. So that's in the red. So listeners, viewers, the first column after the blue column.
So this claim of a March exchange rate is not correct, because now if you do that number, it will bring you down to, if you add the 68 to the 53, that's what brings you to the 122. That's the first point.
So this is how come you arrive at 122?
That is how come you arrive at 122. Now, yes, indeed, Monetary Policy Committee says 197.989 thereabout. Or if you look at the end May numbers,
BOG
is at 198. When you net the difference, it's first of all 75 billion. It's not even 80 billion.
198 minus 122.
Do the math. Now, when you move to the next step, even this amount, let's grant it.
So 76.
Yeah, let us grant, or let us assume.
So you are saying you didn't add 80, you added 76.
Well, no, we are saying that the debt stock has changed by 76. But what we are saying is that you cannot go out there and do a dog whistle or make a claim or make a suggestion that a change of 76 billion in the debt stock means that the Akufo-Addo administration has borrowed 75 or 76 billion. And we've proceeded to give a breakdown of the reasons that account for the change in the debt stock. The first being a disbursement of loans that were incurred prior to Akufo-Addo's administration, a good chunk of them in the Mills Mahama time. And if we have time, I'll go through some of those disbursements. My brother says that we have literally borrowed for consumption. That's not true. I'll take you through a breakdown of specific loans that were taken at specific times that have now been disbursed. And you see what corresponds to those loans. The second, as we have explained, is that there's an exchange differential. In the numbers I'll show you, you'll find about 18 billion increase out of this 80 or 76 or so. That is purely due to an exchange differential. And we've
can you put it back on the screen? I just want to show what he's saying. Whatever he's saying. So what is that?
Go to column number 2. External debt in millions of well, this is in millions, so the numbers will be in billions. Now, if you look at 2016, you would find out that the external debt in CD terms was 68 billion cedis.
Okay.
If you come to the extreme last but one slide, you find that the external debt, first of all, in dollar terms, is 20 billion. That means that in hard currency terms, the debt has grown, you see change in debt there, by 4.2 billion. But at today's rate, 4.2 billion is what
dollars, which gives you 18 billion cedis.
Yeah. So no. So 4.2 plus 16 is what gives you 20.
Okay.
Now that 20 at today's rate of 5.1 something or 5.2 something is what brings you to the, in fact, the budget rate you find there is 5.08. It's what brings you to the 105 billion. That 105 billion in CD terms, when you break it down, when you break the external debt component, about 18 billion of it is due to exchange rate effect. And we have explained that, for example, if the exchange rate was at 4.1 and it just shifts to 5.0, and you multiply that differential by the same debt stock even, you get a change in the public nominal debt stock in CD term. It does not mean that administration has borrowed. So about 18 billion of that you will find out is due to exchange differential. And then we have what I think tonight we'll spend a lot of time on. We have what we call the transaction effect. The transaction effect, and Atu knows it very well, he was Deputy Finance Minister. The transaction effect is actually the new add-ons to your debt stock as a result of new transactions, i.e. new loans or new disbursements that are coming to add to the debt stock. And you find a transaction effect of about, I think about 17 billion. So if you add 18 to 17, you hit a number of 36.
And you take that from 76?
You take that, you would, so you notice that you have 68, 53, which brings you to 122. You have 105 today in what we call CD terms, and that is made up of this 36, 17, 18. You break those numbers down. There's nobody who can go to town and make an argument that the administration has literally ramped up debt by 70. The third argument we have made.
So just to be clear, so based on what you've done, if you take out the transactions effect and the exchange rate effect,
I want to know.
Then the figure left from the 122 will be how much? Is it 68? Because the transaction effect is 17.
17 billion.
You have a 57.
Okay, on top 57.
Yes, you have a 57. Mind you, the 17 is the CD denominated version of your forex loans or your external loans. And then you have another transaction effect in CD terms, that's of 39. That's the domestic side of the debt. That's what brings you to transaction effect of 57. And you add that to your exchange differential of about 18. Bringing you to a total of about 197 billion. So we have said that if you want to talk debt, let's be fair to the numbers and break it up in the various components, and then we can. And the point we're making is that my brother and his team, they know these numbers because they've worked there. You don't lump it together and throw out this thing that Akufo-Addo has borrowed 76 billion, which is not true. Let me come to the third argument. We're also saying that apart from exchange differential, apart from old loans that are being disbursed, there are some of the new additions to what you call the debt stock that are not monies that come to the administration to use for projects. And we've given examples. Take the extended credit facility that my brother Ato Forson and my very good friend Mr. Setepe literally led us into under the IMF. We were to receive about $1 billion, 900 and something million, about $1 billion. In what? Support that goes to the Bank of Ghana. It doesn't come to the Central Treasury for the central bank or for the central government to use for any development project. If you take that nearly $1 billion, it's about 5 billion cedis in contemporary terms because it's part of our external debt, and you use the 5.0 that I showed you. That about 5 billion Ghana cedis in this 80 billion change in our debt stock. He knows it's not money that comes to the Central Treasury to use for any project. Yet they want to create the impression that it's money Akufo-Addo has borrowed and must be able to show it for. So when you take that,
the transactions, the exchange and this out, how much have you borrowed?
I'm coming. Let me add the next item to it. And then you come to the very last item, for example, of these Eurobonds that we have done. And I've been at pains to explain that in the last Eurobond that we did, about $1 billion of it was for liability management. And if you understand, and I'm sure we all do, what liability management, essentially what it is that, listen, we've got about $1 billion worth of liabilities that we have to find ways of paying. It's almost falling due. We don't necessarily have the liquidity for it. So you borrow another $1 billion, you put it on a standby, and then when it's due to pay, you do that swap essentially. You would notice that these numbers were calculated end of May. As at end of May, we have not necessarily retired them because they are not due to be matured. So you have the old 1 billion, which is equivalent to 5 billion cedis sitting there as part of the 80. And then you have the new 1 billion, which you are going to use to swap, also sitting there. That's double counting. When you hit June and you get into this period and you do that payout, it comes down to about 5 billion, or it reduces by about 5 billion. So what we are saying is that if you want to disintegrate all of these numbers for us to have a conversation, we can. But if you want to deliberately lump them together and create this impression out there. We have to expose it for what it is. For us, the biggest and most important measure is this. If you want to talk debt, we have what we call the debt sustainability analysis. Because when two people...
But we'll come there. I think you've made a few points that require attention. You said that you insist on 122.
Yes.
Because the exchange rate you use is different from theirs, and you insist that that's correct.
No, we are using the end year rates that were available to the state at the
and
time.
that still give you 122.
Yeah.
Number two, you are saying if you add the transactions effect,
yes,
the exchange rate effect,
yes,
and the old debt servicing.
What is the difference between the transaction effect and the
exchange rate effect?
Can you explain?
I'm surprised you're asking this question.
I'm not getting it.
I'm not getting it. I don't know. I'd have thought you would explain it to you.
Okay.
So when we talk of transaction effect, essentially what we are saying is that the change in the debt stock that is caused as a result of new transactions that have occurred. That's the transaction effect. You know that these things are common terms that we're all aware of. And then when you talk of the exchange rate effect, you are talking about a change in the nominal debt stock. Remember, we are talking about
change in exchange rate.
On the basis of change in exchange rates. You haven't done anything. If the exchange rate was 4 cedis to $1 and I owed $1 billion, that's 4 billion cedis of debt. If the exchange rate just changes to 5 cedis to $1 and I still owe $1 billion,
can we also come
that's just 5 billion. That's exchange rate effect.
So I want them to respond to those two issues, because the transactions effect, exchange rate effect sort of blows out the figure. So it sort of explains why the figure is what it is. I don't know if you have a reaction to that.
Yes, I think I'm very happy that all of us are around this table, and we would settle this matter once and for all today.
It's important.
One, we need to understand that the public debt of Ghana has a methodology for calculation. And that methodology has consistently been the basis for which the NDC was lambasted. And that methodology remains. And it is to the effect that at any point in time when you are looking at your debts, as a country that reports its currency in a certain form, which is the Ghana cedi, it is about indicating how you would pay that money. Okay? So you cannot go and say, I inherited a debt, the exchange rate was 4.1, now it is about 5. A lender, can you excuse me, I don't owe you 5 cedis equivalent. The important thing that as a country we must pay the 5 cedis. And that is the reality of it. Unless we can generate the dollars. Even if we generate the dollars, we are giving out dollars that we could exchange for 5 cedis in order to pay for 4 cedis. So clearly, that is the methodology for calculating our public debt. So we need to understand that and forget this.
So you're saying that whether there's an exchange rate change or not,
you can call
the
it
dollar figure is what we should use.
Because you see, that is what you are paying. If it is a dollar denominated,
but doesn't depend on domestic or external debt.
I'm saying if it's an external debt,
you are paying
the dollar. Okay, and somebody has a responsibility to manage the dollar. And it is that person who is now complaining that he has mismanaged the dollar, and so he should be excused of the impact of the dollar.
So you discount the exchange rate effect?
Of course, because you see, somebody held the exchange rate of the $750 million that Kojo borrowed in 2007 constant for 9 years at 1 cedi to the dollar. Today, that person is saying that we shouldn't hold that against him. We should now be looking at what has happened in the last 2 years. Okay. You crucify somebody for an exchange rate that existed 9 years before. Let us not play double standards here.
So you discount that. What about the transactions?
If you want to do that, listen, I'm coming. If you want to do that, then you have to go back and say it built in the 120. And I disagree with 122 because there's only one referee in this country, and that is the Auditor General.
Isn't it the Bank of Ghana?
The Auditor General is the one who audits our numbers. And the Auditor General says at the end of December 2016, the numbers show that our public debt was 120. It doesn't matter what you decide to calculate.
An exchange rate. And
it doesn't matter whether it was exchange rate or whatever it was.
So you take the Auditor General. He's taking BOG.
He settles the matter.
No problem.
He settles the matter.
So, yes.
But I'm not saying that. If you want to do that, then pick the numbers as at December 2016. And discount all the exchange and transactional losses. And you'll be back to square one. You will now realize that whatever you are trying to gain here also exit through.
So we should just keep it at dollars.
I'm saying that if you do that, there were also transactionary effects.
But it was yours to explain.
It doesn't matter. Today we are dealing with the
It was yours to
numbers.
explain.
I'm saying that we are dealing with the numbers. You can't run away from it.
Nobody's running away from it.
Okay, I wasn't interrupting.
So I'm just trying to answer. So you should deal with the dollar.
What I'm saying is this.
Yes.
You see, he's talking about transaction effects. If at the end of 2016, your domestic debt was 53 billion. 53 billion.
Mm-hmm.
And by 2018, you are dealing with 86 billion. Okay? And by the end of March 2019, you are dealing with 92.6 billion. That is an increase of 33 billion. In terms of your domestic borrowing, where is the exchange rates that you are talking about? And you have borrowed an additional 36 billion. Look, right now, we are looking at close to 40 billion on the growth of domestic debt alone. Okay? And that growth of 40 billion is not caused by any transaction or whatever English. And we say, show us the 40 billion, what you have used it for. And it is semantics. That is the first one. The second one, if you say that you drew down obligations that existed,
yes,
what do you draw down for? You draw down to keep it at the central bank and allow the dust to gather on it? You draw down through your budget. Is that not what you do? You draw down transactions in order to finance the budget. You don't draw down loans just to keep them at the central bank and build up your debt portfolio. Now, let's look at our budget. What have we been saying? What we have been saying is that in 2017, we said that our entire debt of 12 billion, budget deficit of 12 billion was financed 100% by domestic borrowing. So what did you do with the drawing down in the year 2017 that you're now claiming is the reason your debt has gone up? So you drew down and hit the figure, or you drew down and decided not to effect your budget deficit with it, or what did you do with it? And we're talking almost $960 million that you drew down that didn't reflect in your fiscals. That is fraudulent and that is misrepresented. And you see, for anybody to say that because you drew down and you are not reflecting it in your budget, that's an indictment. Because you just don't draw down numbers. But in any case, 1 billion. Bernard, since NPP came, have they collected 1 billion from IMF? I don't remember when you took 1 billion from IMF. Or whatever NDC collected and you came and collected, all of them is now your public debt.
No, but they came in punches.
I am saying that he's quoting 1 billion that is sitting there, which is not be attributable to Akufo. And I'm saying they didn't collect 1 billion from the IMF.
So how much did they collect?
We collected around 500 million, which is already sitting in our public debt. So don't be subtracting 1 billion.
So then why are you saying that we have borrowed 80 billion?
I'm not. Listen, you are trying to justify how we should be discounting.
So you know all of these.
No, I'm just trying to get something. No.
The
IMF said, just a quick one. The IMF said give us 986 ECF,
yes,
and they gave us 500 during your time.
Yes. In our time, that 122 million, that 500 million is sitting there.
In Bank of Ghana?
It is sitting in our public debt.
I know.
100.
But
you see,
where did the money go?
The money is given to Bank of Ghana, but it is reported through our public debt.
You know that.
But it's for their reserves.
Yes. And I'm saying
it's not for fiscal expenditure.
Yes, but that's about 500 million.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
And we cannot be subtracting 1 billion from what they borrowed. Because whatever we took is
already
reported
accounted
in our public debt that we left. It's already in.
So you should only take off what was given
but
during
you see,
that
when
time.
you were collecting the forex, and you were shouting all over the place that you have built up your next international reserves, did you tell anybody that that money was coming from IMF or John Mahama? Did you? When you were pumping that money into the market to stabilize the city, did you tell the people of Ghana or the market, oh, Charlie, I'm bringing some money from Bank of Ghana to come and stabilize the city? And for that money, it is not for us, it was for John Dramani Mahama.
Okay.
Did you do that? You didn't. You went there and you were praising yourself for building up reserves. And those were the balance of payment support. You didn't. But you see, Bernard, take the 2018 budget numbers. In the 2018, you reported a total deficit of 11.6 billion Ghana cedis. You indicated that you borrowed domestically 9.8 billion to finance that expenditure. Okay? That expenditure of domestic borrowing is not drawn down from international funds. It's not drawn down from international funds. It is domestic borrowing on the domestic market, 9.8 billion. You then went back to say that You now spend 2.74 billion Ghana cedis on account of international funding. How you arrive at those numbers. Meanwhile, in your own debt management report, you have reported that the total flows from external sources, including the Eurobond, was 2.65 billion. 2 billion of it is Eurobond. So let's take it out. 650 million will be drawn down. Okay? So I expect to see 650 million reflecting as foreign financing of my budget. You also indicated that out of that 2 billion Eurobond, $750 million of it is meant to finance the budget. You said that, and it is in your record. So when you now add 750 million and what is supposed to be your drawdown of 650 million, don't you get $1.4 billion?
Can you pause so that
you derail my thoughts.
Okay, go ahead.
1.4 billion converted at their exchange rate of 5 cedis gives you 7 billion. How did 7 billion external financing of our budget become 2.75 billion they are reporting? So already almost 5 billion is unaccounted for. Kojo, how do you draw down and it disappears from your fiscals? And when we are now questioning you, the growth of your...
So is this missing 5 billion external or domestic?
External. You see, they are reporting...
It's not domestic.
Listen, they are reporting that...
I'll take you through the external.
They are no, you don't have to take me through.
I'll take you through the chamber. You see line by line. Then show me where that 5 billion is.
Let me show you.
Can you summarize your last point? Because it's not clear what the point you are making.
The point I am making is this. Yeah. In our budget deficits,
yes,
we have domestic, we have external financing.
Yes.
The domestic financing is reported in our budget and in this document.
Okay.
At 9.8 billion Ghana cedis. Let me just do.
No, okay, not the budget.
It's not debt management report. Okay. It's reported in the debt management report.
I think I have a soft copy.
Yes. At 9.8 billion. Okay. And again, it is reported that the domestically, the externally financed, which is the foreign finance, including the Eurobonds, amounted to 2.74. When you add it, you get the 11 billion they are reporting as deficit. Okay. We know for sure that the 9.8 domestic borrowing is not a drawdown. We know that, right? The external borrowing of 2.74 billion Ghana cedis must be coming from somewhere. We are told that $750 million of it is coming from the Eurobonds. Okay?
Yes.
But we also know that in addition to the Eurobond, they are reporting that 650 million came from external sources. That gives us a total of $1.4 billion.
Good.
Dollars.
So there's a difference.
Convert that to their own 5 cedis to the dollar. You get 7 billion.
Yes.
And they are reporting 2.7.
So there's a missing...
So when they draw down, it disappears from the fiscals and appears at the Bank of Ghana.
That's what we call a cosmetic.
How can you draw down to finance a budget? You see, when you draw down, you have a loan. The loan is meant to deliver a project. The loan just doesn't come because you have it.
Okay.
You have to request for replenishment and you have to request for drawdown. And when you request because an activity is being executed which must be funded in the budget and approved by Parliament.
So what is the consequence of this missing 7 billion in your argument? So you are saying that they have underreported.
The consequence is that our deficit is understated by 5 billion. That is one.
5 billion cedis.
Yes, that is one. 2 is the fact that I can't even see the so-called drawdown in my fiscals.
Okay. So it's missing.
When I draw down to pay expenditures generated by the budget.
All right, I think that point is fair.
Okay, and yet it is not in the budget.
Good.
Where have you been drawing it down for?
Yes, let me let Achem.
If I can go ahead, there are several issues here. We need
one
to
by one.
Okay, so I can leave the rest.
You
because he raised about
Achem, I want
carry the rest and then you come back.
I wanted to deal with all of them.
Let them go and come.
Achem, I want your initial comments
Where are you going to find it? It's not in your budget.
I believe as all accountants and general accountants and all of us.
Let's don't forget that Ghanaians listening, not all of them and do accounting.
No, it's all right.
So draw down fiscal.
I like that. That's what I'm
just
going.
Be careful.
Yes, sure. That's what I'm going.
So don't go there.
You have to bring it down.
Yes.
At least everybody's understanding. At least for once, our friends in NDC now understand that there's a difference between debt stock
and borrowed funds.
I haven't come to that
Thank you.
conclusion.
That's what yes.
We haven't finished.
Let him make his
I haven't come to
Let
that
him make his
conclusion. So don't draw
Yes.
conclusions for me.
And
I am heading
MPP.
there.
No,
There are
no.
several issues I'm heading there. I
I don't
haven't drawn
go.
that
No.
conclusion.
You know what you're talking about
We
here?
can be drawn.
Oche-
At
Oche-
least
Oche-
For
I
once,
I don't
No,
know.
I haven't drawn that.
in all their press conferences,
And I'll
for
never do
once,
that.
they now admit that there's a clear difference between debt stock and borrow funds under any one particular government. And these numbers are not the same. We do understand that. In other words, you cannot go on press conference as our friends used to do and say that MPP has borrowed 80 billion additional money when you're only referring to debt stock, which can increase by any other factors like the ones we are talking about, depreciation of the city. And surprisingly, our friends are saying that debt stock has increased. Do we disagree? No, we don't. And if in your time you did not explain it, we have taken the trouble to explain it because there's too much propaganda to understand that if we do not take care, our friends that are in position where we are supposed to be responsible and make sure that they check us, we are open, are putting too much information out there that is becoming a liability to this country. That is my concern.
So your point is that debt stock could have increased, but that doesn't mean you've
Borrowed
increased
that much
or
money.
borrowed.
One particular government has borrowed that money. It has to be clear. And that's the argument they carry. Whether it is 120, 122, if you ask me, there's
it's neither here
a
nor
lot
there.
of difference. Okay? So we can debate these numbers because we are not afraid to borrow. Because if you borrow and there's a clear increase in production,
We are going to go there.
I'm coming.
Because in particular,
Yes.
what the money was used for.
exactly.
So I'm just taking your take on the initial
Yeah.
point.
So if you borrow, and by the way, look at what is happening to debt sustainability. They were borrowing. Debt to GDP ratio was about 73.4%, almost 74%. What is happening now is about 58%.
Also, be careful when you use that kind of unnecessary indices.
No,
It's not true.
and that's the rebate.
You see,
That's the rebate.
73.
You know, I am
then we go
very,
back.
very
You-
happy
You
that
don't know what you're talking about.
I am very, no. Please, let's
him to
respect
mess
each other. I
up.
know that.
Yes.
I'm very happy that
That is.
Honorable Abdongo said,
It
it doesn't matter who manages the economy, the fact is that
We have to
the
pay.
debt has increased. Debt stock. Doesn't matter who is managing the economy, the fact is that rebased GDP to debt ratio has fallen. So you don't go on press conference and say that Ghana is in debt distressed. That is not true.
Using the rebase GDP.
Regardless of what you choose to use.
Debt to GDP ratio.
Yes.
56.8.
And then we are not under distress by global standards. So what are you doing? Scaring people? Investors? Those are my problems. Because as for the debate, go and look at the relationship between GDP growth rate. While NDC was borrowing, there's an inverse relationship between increase in borrowing and the growth rate in GDP, to the extent that it fell down from 9.1% to 3.4%. And that is the problem. Check it out now.
So you are saying your growth rate can cater for more borrowing.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that when our friends were borrowing, doesn't mean we're going to borrow. I mean, come on. If there's a room to borrow and it makes sense and Parliament says yes, why not? You live in a country where your domestic revenue cannot support your activities. People everywhere are asking for help. Schools, they're asking for roads, hospitals. So what do? You still sit down for the snake to bite you? You don't. You borrow responsibly to the extent that we have passed the Fiscal Responsibility Act. Do not spend more than 5% of your budget. If we need to borrow anyhow, we will do that. We will pass that law. So the point I'm making is that there has to be a positive relationship between the level of borrowing under any particular government
And your growth.
and your growth rate. And we don't have that under NDC.
Now, do we have under an MPP?
Oh, my friend. Check it in our first year. What happened? 8.1%.
Including oil.
whether it is oil or not. Oil is not money.
Oil is not part of
GDP.
Okay, we'll go there.
No.
But you didn't use
don't reduce the debate.
No.
Don't reduce the debate to issues.
So you're saying let's talk about the country and let's not compare.
Exactly.
Right.
And then when you begin to ask what have you used the money for, and
we'll come
if you want to come there,
I
that's
just want
fine.
to get Akto's wrap up on this first part on the issue of the stock and the breakdown Kojo gave. You've made a good point. I'll leave that
We
into.
need to address all the issues.
No, I have a number.
When we come back, we'll look at what the money is used for, because I think viewers are very interested. Let's not forget that we are doing this for viewers.
And I want to ask Ato a direct
No, I just want Ato to respond.
No, let me. You can ask the direct question. Let me answer to what you have said, and then you bring your direct question.
No, I just want to give you a question so that you add it to another.
Yes. Okay. All right. Bring it.
So does Ato now concede that a change in the debt stock, even by 80 billion, I'll grant you, does not mean that the Akufo-Addo administration has borrowed 80 billion. 80 billion. That's my only question.
So thank you very much, Bernard. Bernard, I want to make an appeal that you have to extend. Please,
we are going. We are going to 10:30.
As for today, we have to settle this matter.
We are going.
Bernard, let me.
So you have time.
First of all, Kojo's question.
Kojo's question.
And then the statement he made. He was trying to say that there's the need for us to draw a distinction between debt stock and borrowed fund.
Yes.
In fact, borrowed fund is even more than the debt stock. In fact, the MPP administration, per my calculation, they borrowed in excess of 120 billion. 120 billion. The debt stock is 80 billion. So your question, President Akufo-Addo has borrowed in excess of 120 billion.
Where are you getting that from?
Yes, and I'm coming there. In spite of the fact that he's had access to 113 million Ghana cedis, 113 billion Ghana cedis from tax revenue, oil revenue of 12.3 billion, grant of 3.7 billion. In spite of all of that, that is how much you have borrowed. Because Bernard, I say this because borrowed fund include what Parliament approves. If Parliament approves an example, today Parliament Finance Committee met. We considered a loan agreement of 55 million euros for the construction of Kumasi Town roads. After Parliament approves it and the Ministry of Finance signs it, it becomes a borrowed fund. And you will have to start paying commitment fee. And the drawdowns will follow based on the work done.
Would you necessarily find
No. Can I? When we're speaking respectfully, so allow me to come in.
It's fine.
And clearly, so borrowed fund in itself is in excess of what is actually being represented in the debt stock. The second point, Kojo Ochem in his submission talked about debt sustainability. And before then, he was trying to compare what the NDC left at 73% to what they are actually in today, and it was
based on
and you could see mischievously. No, he decided to use 73% of old series GDP, and when it comes to this time, he's using new series.
I'll respond.
Let me tell you, the NDC left office with a debt to GDP of 56.8%,
based on the new series.
On new series, okay, and then as we speak now, the debt to GDP is about 58.something%. So in any case, if you compare like with like, they are rather increasing debt to GDP, not actually reducing it from 73 to 56%. That is wrong. Third point, Kojo in his submission made certain pronouncement. And he said, one, the drawdowns include the IMF amount of almost 1 billion. But the amount is 918 million US dollars.
About 900 something.
But let me put to you, Kojo, it's a lie.
Okay.
It's a lie in the sense that the NDC, after we were leaving office, we had drawn down in more than half of that.
I'll go through the numbers.
So you will have to tell us. You are telling me that the entire billion is something that we have drawn down. But Bernard, balance of payment support, what it simple means is that the payment doesn't go to the Ministry of Finance, but it goes to BOG to show up the reserves.
Yes.
Who uses the reserves? Government of the day. The government of the day use the reserves as buffers, and when you need foreign exchange to pay certain items, you use it to pay. So they used it. It's not NDC that used the reserves. It's a simple fact. You want me to take it again?
So you're saying that
who used the reserves?
Even if it's for
yes,
BOG's foreign currency,
government uses
which is not an infrastructure project.
Government uses it. We distinguish fiscal
From monetary.
Because fiscal is because you see
Yes.
we try in theory
Yes.
to say the Bank of Ghana is independent in theory, and
But independence don't come in here. Because you see, independence don't come in here. No, let me tell you, you're talking of the usage of a particular amount.
But that's why
the usage. Independence, functional independence.
That's why the finance ministry in
functional independence. No, I'll come in.
I don't think
you can't.
I just want to say something.
Yes, on
in
that
this
one.
very report,
Yes.
the Minister of Finance admits that when we were having challenges with the city, they depleted their buffers to intervene directly in the market, not the Bank of Ghana. The Minister of Finance is in this report.
You see, and then Bernard,
Okay.
Bernard, you build reserves for eventualities like what Honorable Adongo is talking about. So reserves are not actually meant for you to consume it or use it for the purposes of expenditure. In economic management, it's not all about expenditure. Sometimes you build reserves to be able to signal to the market how strong your currency will be if somebody calls on it. And that is why, over the period, we've heard Kojo and Co. saying that, the city has performed better under their time because of prudent economic management. Today, they are telling us the very reserves that they claim they have built were loans that President Mahama contracted.
We haven't said
Indeed.
that. We haven't said
That's what you are
that.
telling
We haven't
us.
said that.
So today,
That's your own narrative.
you are trying to
But
give
you
those
need
credits.
to answer the exchange rate. You need to answer the exchange rate question.
Oh, I'll do
You have to.
In terms of saying you are bringing an exchange rate effect, because Adongo's point is that you made noise about poor exchange rate.
As explained.
So if the exchange rate is now increasing your debt stock, it is your mismanagement.
No problem. We'll
So
go
that's
into that
one.
one.
Then number
We'll go
two, we
into
need to
that
get into the usage of the money.
Yeah, I'm coming there.
No,
That's
but I
all.
need to take a break because I also need money.
Okay, but if I can, because I've not gone in there at all.
Yes,
so
so
you have to.
so let me also
Let me deal with the issues of the exchange rate and the issues of the IMF buffers as well.
And that's why I want to come in.
I need to pay some bills because we're extending the show up to 10:30. My guests are 4 members of parliament. We have Bogatanga Central in the Upper East region, Bantama in Ashanti, Ofasi Arabi in Eastern, and Ejumaku in the Central region. So this is a national conversation. We have economists, we have finance people, accountants, all here. I hope it's making sense. If it's not, send me some questions to ask both of them. For now, they are crossing fire. I have a few questions for all of them to answer. This is the point of view. Stay with us.
Environmentally friendly, affordable, and quality fertilizers committed to improving crop production and ensuring food security through improved yields in Ghana. This is Glofert Limited, a wholly owned Ghanaian company with a global outlook. Ghana's leading name in fertilizer production, Glofert has built a state-of-the-art 120 metric tons per hour fertilizer blending factory, the largest in Ghana. This is able to blend all types of NPK to the specific requirements of farmers. With a 45,000 metric ton warehouse, trust Glofert Limited for all types of NPKs, urea, sulfate of ammonia, potassium nitrate, calcium nitrate, boron, and many more. Glofert is currently participating in the Planting for Food and Jobs initiative under the Ministry of Food and Agriculture. Call us on 0544-339-513 or 0243-512-171. Locate our head office at number 2 Ni Amon Lane, East Legon, Accra. Email sales@glofert.com. Glofert, growing growth.
Get the backstory of the major news stories on press conference. Hear from the editors and reporters behind the biggest stories of the week.
Politics, democracy is expensive. That's a fact. I mean, it's not on the scale of what we do here, but also whether you like it or not, there's a problem with it. But then also, I think, per what I said, that if the NDC wasn't in opposition, they may not have put this amount at this level.
Press conference every Sunday at 8 p.m. with Duke Mensa Opoku, only on City TV.
Envelope yourself in the arms of nature. Rise up every day into a refreshing and transforming experience. Relax and enjoy world-class rooms, unforgettable services, and truly sumptuous cuisine. Treat yourself to the exquisite conference facilities with internet access. Take a tranquil boat ride to the beautiful Maha village and free your spirit as you cruise along Ghana's most captivating water bodies. Party the night and the morning away in our exclusive party bus and our nightclub. Watch the latest blockbuster movies in our state-of-the-art cinema. Experience the incredible moments of your life at Maha Beach Resort, Ghana's most authentic beach resort, nestled in the heart of the Elembela district. This is Maha Beach Resort. Call 0303-977-773 and 050-157-0684. Email sm@maharesort.com. Maha Beach Resort, redefining indigenous hospitality.
For your Saturday afternoon entertainment, for wholesome music, interactive interviews, and live band performances at its best. Watch Saturday Live with Nana Sakodie and Nana Tufo Boating every Saturday at 2 p.m. only on City TV. The story unfolds as Brazil Avenue gets even more suspense-filled. Carminia continues her devious schemes, but fears Rita may be onto her, although she's still oblivious of her true identity. Rita battles being exposed and is doing everything in her power to keep her true identity a secret while she plots her vengeance. Jorginho is caught between the two forces as he struggles to find his own truth. Amidst all this, the story is intertwined in love, greed, deceit, thrills, and action in the award-winning Brazil Avenue, which airs on City TV, Wednesdays to Fridays at 10 p.m. and the Omnibus on Sundays, 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. only on City TV.
Welcome back to The Point of View. Tonight is the big borrowing or debt debate, and my guests are from the Finance Committee predominantly. Kojo Oppong, Minister for Information. He responded to a press conference addressed by the Minorities Finance Caucus, led by Cassiel Forson. Cassiel is here with Isaac Adongo. Now, Cassiel responded to Kojo Oppong's press conference, so it's a response thing. And we also have Honorable MP for Bantama. Your name keeps escaping me.
Ochem Abwaji.
Ochem Abwaji. Yeah. Now, viewers, we have a lot of comments from you as well. The show is going on till very late. Cassiel, I'm going to give you 2 minutes to wrap up because you've asked a couple of questions. You've tried to debunk the debt to GDP that Ochem put out. But you say you have a couple more issues.
Yeah.
If you can just explain quickly.
Briefly. Kojo made two main comments. One, he made an assertion of liability management and claimed that happens to be part of the public debt today.
Yes.
Bernard, liability management is simply going to borrow and then to manage your existing debt. Put it that way. So it's more or less we went to the market, from the bond market to borrow, let's say 1 billion, and then use it to take off an existing loan. That does not add to your debt.
Okay.
So that statement that he's trying to claim is not the case. I wish to say that in 2015, for instance, the NBC administration went to the bond market. We borrowed $1 billion. That $1 billion was only used for liability management. It did not increase our debt. What it did was we switched our debt from foreign to domestic debt. It doesn't increase the public debt. So that assertion, he may have to come again. I disagree with that. And then finally, he made mention of disbursement of loans. In other words, that's what we call drawdown. So when you have an existing loan and you want to disburse the loan or draw down for the purposes of project, that is what normally with the finance people call it drawdown. He said that the NDC administration had certain projects ongoing, and for that matter, when they took office, they started drawing down. What surprises me is that Kojo has forgotten that in the past, when NDC took office in the year 2009, projects like the Gang of Four, projects like Buidam, President John Evans Atamils inherited them from President Kufuor.
Gang of Four was domestically financed.
Yes, I'm coming there. So what happens was that Buidam, for instance, in fact, I'll give you another example. The N1 and N1. I'll come to the Gang of Four. And then what happens was that, one, we drew down that loan. It was part of the 120 billion that we left. Yet he's failing to talk about it. They took credit that they are actually the ones that actually implemented the Buidam and constructed the Buidam. Today he's telling us that projects like the current railway going on between Tema and Akosombo, then DC actually started it. Then PP is implemented it. I've heard the Minister for Communication and again the Minister for Railway claiming credit that this is a big legacy for President Akufo-Addo. So they are taking credit for the project and disowning the loans. Amazing.
So if you take
incredible,
credit, for the project,
you shouldn't all of a sudden
about
all of a sudden
old debts.
Yes, you can't.
Okay.
We've heard the MPP when they were making assertions that the city has performed better under their watch between 2017 2018, and they said the city's worst time was in 2015 2014. He's forgotten that the exchange rate actually has effect on the 2015 and 2016 numbers. So why are they complaining today? So you see, and this is what I'm really surprised, that the MPP, that once upon a time, the running mate, then the now vice president, claimed that the NDC had borrowed so much, sold it to the public. All the MPP bigwigs bought into it and claimed that the NDC had left serious amount of debt, including that we call it exchange rate variation. Today is giving it a name, including drawdowns that the MPP actually left.
Since we don't want to confuse our viewers, I just want to summarize what I understand what you said. Yeah, I think there are three issues.
This issue before
No. Let me respond to three things. So, exchange rate is not doing well. It's your fault. What do you call it? Borrowed funds. If you bring borrowed funds in, it's a worst case because you borrowed more than even the debt stock. That's what he's saying. And then he says, if you complain about liability management, don't take credit for the projects that he started. Response.
So, Bernard, if in your day when you were in government and had access to all the data, some of the data which I've for the first time come to show on live national television, and I'll show some more data about the disbursements I'm talking about, and you had all of that data, and you could not defend yourself when you were issued with charges, it's your loss, not mine. You don't get the opportunity to now turn around and say that, well, in your day you could not defend yourself, so nobody has a right to raise these issues in his defense. Now, let me come to a few specific matters. When we talk of the exchange differential, and then you try to make the argument that it is our loss, and that's why are we making excuses? We have not made excuses. In fact, we have not complained. What we have said is that we are exposing a deliberate mischief that you were attempting to do. If we hadn't done that, like by now, people are walking the streets of Accra with the impression that, hey, Akufo-Addo has on his own added 80 billion to our debt stock.
That is the truth.
It was necessary for us to break it down and show you these numbers, break down the exchange differential, break down the transaction effect, break down the disbursements of old loans, so that Ghanaians out there will get a clear understanding that, oh, indeed, yes, there may be a change, 75 by the way, not 80. There may be a change by about 75 billion, but that is not all attributable
Take the 2
to
billion
Adodankwa Akufo-Addo. Now, when you talk of the liability management, and I tell you that there's double counting in there, I haven't said that liability management in general adds to our debt stock. Why? We were one of the first to make an argument that reprofiling doesn't add to our debt stock. I have told you that at the particular time that 1 billion hit our accounts, there was an old 1 billion in there which we are buffering to repay. Therefore, when you see the number as at the end of May, you will see double counted. But when, as we have entered June, eventually it is due and we repay, you will no longer see it there. But now let me come to a few specifics, and if your team can show it up on the screen. You see, the real thing they sought to do was to say that he has taken loans. He should show us what he has done with the loans. I've taken my time. And in fact, former President Mahama was the one who drew the attention of the opposition to it for the first time. That if you have anybody in opposition who is asking what have the loans been used for, it means that you were sleeping while you were in parliament. Yeah. President Mahama is the one who said it during his day as president. If indeed what they want...
What is this?
I will get you. So if you look at the last 4 columns, you see 2017, 2018, 2019. These are disbursements of loans during the tenure of President Akufo-Addo. I'm not sure these numbers have ever been shown on television before, but it is to expose the mischief that they are up to. He would choose to call
disbursement of loans.
Yes, disbursement of loans. He would choose to say lies, dishonesty. I won't do that. I'll be generous to him. I'll just say that he's being mischievous.
You lie.
Oh, don't worry. I'll just say that he's being mischievous. Yeah. Look at those numbers, 2017, 2018, 2019. Now look to the left and look at when those loans were contracted. You have loans that were contracted in 2003 that are being disbursed in 2018 because some of those projects are still ongoing. You have loans that were contracted in 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011. Indeed, if your team goes down, I've brought you item by item the new disbursements of loans. Loans which were not contracted by Adodanko Akufo-Addo, but are being added to our debt stock at 5.0. Because this is the era in which we are. And you say we shouldn't explain it. That's in your day because you couldn't explain it.
But I don't go
so
we
need the numbers. We need the finals.
Okay.
I have my 5 minutes.
Okay, so
I have my 5 minutes. Let me go through my time.
Scroll down.
Let me go through my time. Let me go through my time.
They want to see the total. They are
Let me
pulling
go
the
through my
total.
period. Let me go through my period. Let me go through my period.
Okay.
I'm saying to you that is why we came out and we explained that a good chunk of these loans were loans that were being disbursed in Akufo-Addo's times, which was not incurred by him.
You know, that's the most important.
Can I go on? Can I please make my point? I gave you space.
They will show it.
And I'm saying that you know this. You've been deputy finance minister. Yes. You know that when you are doing the debt sustainability analysis, can I make my argument? Why are you heckling all of a sudden? Why are you heckling all of a sudden?
Nobody's heckling.
Why are you over my show?
Okay.
Let me go through my argument.
Because
you have your
give us
time.
half-baked data.
No, allow him. He'll give us the
They are putting it on the screen.
So let's see.
They are putting it on the screen.
On them.
Okay, there it is at the bottom.
Can I make my...
It's how much? 3.74
argument?
For which year?
So hold on.
Can I make my argument?
Kojo, let's just wrap this up. The first column is the total...
2017.
3.7.
Yeah, 3.7 billion.
Is it in Ghana cedis or dollars or what? Ghana cedis.
It's in Ghana cedis. Huh?
Good.
The second column is 11.8.
Okay.
The third column, that's 2018. The third
2018.
column is 15.7.
Which year is that?
And I'm saying that,
2019.
please, I'm saying that if you go through item by item,
the 15.7 include the Eurobond issuance.
Let's relax.
But I think that it should
don't worry,
protect me for me to make my argument.
3.7.
You have gone out to tell the people of Ghana that Akufo-Addo has borrowed about 80 billion.
Go ahead.
I am going through and I'm showing you
It's not
that I can show you what Akufo-Addo has borrowed, which adds to our debt stock. If you look at, let's say, last but one item, you see the 2019 Eurobond issuance of it, and parts of that amount that hit our account at a particular point in time.
8.832 Eurobond issuance for 2018.
No, that is export credit facility what you are reading.
Eurobond is 8.89.
No, you are reading from 2018 figures.
Okay.
I'm reading from 2019 figures. And I'm saying that line by line. I'll make it available.
That's 15.2. 15.249.
I'll make it available. That is 3 billion. That is 3 billion at a rate of about 5 point something.
Yes.
And you see the dates on which that hits our account. That's Akufo-Addo's borrowing. And I'm telling you that there's a 5 billion in that 15 billion, which is going to pay a 5 billion liability of another Eurobond previously incurred. So, like we have said, and we have not lied, we have not been dishonest, we have been clear with the facts, that the first item that you need to acknowledge is that part of this 75, and I repeat, it's not 80, part of this 75 change in our debt stock, the math will tell you, is disbursements of old loans. Now, let me come to a few other...
I wanted to do something quickly. Just a quick
I have some documents that I want.
Let's just put this up.
I brought a lot of documents for you. I just want to land on this.
I want to say that, so what is the additional debt that Akufo-Addo on his own borrowed based on what you've put out there? Can you put it back, please? Because if we add 15.7 to...
No, but Bernard,
I'm just asking. It's not for you, for the viewers, please.
Because the 15 include the Eurobonds.
Oh, guys, stop this.
No, but it's not even the case.
I've told you that 15 billion is Akufo-Addo's
What is this one?
That 50 billion is $3 billion Eurobond at an exchange rate of 5 billion.
We want to just know how much additional Akufo-Addo suo moto Using legal term.
I'm saying that we can go through line by line and pick them based on loans that look at it. From Eastern Region University, the topper from 2017 comes. You find it. It's there on the screen.
Yes.
It's there.
And I'm telling you. The total.
Well, it's there on the screen. Now, let me show you. No, I'm not going to do the job that these men should do. And I'll explain to you why. Let me tell you why I won't do the job that these men have to do. I went to the Hansa Department of Parliament with my research assistants, and we spent the last 3 or 4 days trying to compile even what they call borrowings. I have with me here all that the 6th Parliament did, a total of about 20 billion in dollar terms, loan by loan. And if you give me an hour or so, I can read the date on which they borrowed that amount of money. Any member of Parliament who wants to know these figures, I can share it with him. This is the 6th Parliament. This is the 7th one. Can I make my argument? This is the 7th. But if you have this, then what is all of this drama about?
Yes,
Bernard. If you have this, why are we spending an hour?
Hold on. Yeah. He put out something that I wanted. Finally, just hold on. We will respond to that graph. Just let him wrap up his point. Then I'll come back to that document.
Bernard.
You are not. No.
I don't allow this to continue. Can they bring the data back? Can they bring the data back? Are you scared by what he's saying?
Okay.
I'm scared by the propaganda.
Let me do something. I'm going to do something.
I have more than alternatives.
Do your PowerPoint. Come and put it down. Don't come and sit here and bring your data.
Isaac, we'll bring the data back. I want them to wrap up. I want them to wrap up.
Do your data and bring it. This is what the Vice President said in the town hall meeting.
Yes.
That come with your data.
Yes.
Don't come with insults.
Who has insulted?
I'm saying that this is what Akufo-Addo has sent to Parliament and has asked for approval. I have that total list there, date by date, from the 3rd of April 2017 to, as at now, what I have here comes down to the 10th of April 2019.
$13.9 billion.
Yes. In dollar terms.
$13.9 billion.
In dollar terms.
For this Parliament.
Project by project.
This is only project.
And this has not, I mean, a good chunk of it has not been disbursed.
Does this include the amount we use to save the banks?
No, this doesn't.
Yeah.
And when we come to usage, no. I'm saying that these are project loans. These are project loans. Okay, this is in dollars. These are project, and these have not been, literally disbursed. A good chunk.
So these are new borrowings.
They don't even add to what we are talking about.
I get you.
Put that one aside.
Yeah.
If you talk of commercial loans in a year, he knows it. He's been seconding the budget motions in Parliament. When he signed up to the IMF deal, we couldn't borrow more than $500 million a year. In 2019, we put a cap on ourselves that we won't do more than 750. If you know this and you know that, what is that press conference about? The Eurobonds are also out there. We are clear. We will show you that, listen, 3 billion times 5, these are the numbers. So for me, simply put, anybody who genuinely wants to know the numbers, they are here. We can share it with you. Don't go out there and tell people that Akufo-Addo has borrowed 80 billion because it's not true.
Thank you.
Bernard.
I don't go.
Bernard.
Put the matter back.
Do you want the document?
We want it back.
Philip, they want the data back. Please put it back.
It's the most disingenuous document I've ever.
This is not fair.
Can you scroll down?
No.
This is data from the finance ministry. I'm sharing.
Can you come down? You scroll. Let's go.
This is the bottom. You want to go up?
No, he's here, isn't it?
This is the bottom.
2018, 2017, 2010. Scroll down.
So the last.
No, just scroll and let me see from the top. 2008, all of that.
Okay, so there you have it. There you have it. There it is.
Good.
There it is.
So you have listed everything from Adam.
Disbursements.
Why not?
No. These are disbursements.
I'm coming.
These are disbursements of external loans.
I am coming.
Yeah, go ahead.
You have listed everything from Adam. But you are reporting here.
Because of what? Where is this coming from?
Kojo,
Let me finish.
Kojo,
wait.
But why are you so jittery?
Allow him to do it. Allow him to do it.
Don't say what you haven't said.
Stop this.
I don't know.
Kojo, you are so jittery. I've never seen you like this. Allow him to do it.
Today, they will know you for what
Go ahead.
Why is the data?
Please put the data back.
You see, the man is reporting here. 2017, look here. Total foreign project funds, whatever drawdown, $895 million. This is not my data.
Can I see what you're saying?
This data submitted to the Parliament of Ghana.
External loan disbursement by creditor category 2017 to 2018.
Look at 2017.
Okay, so I'm just showing this to my camera.
Oh.
Can you zoom it so they see
that
what?
Was external debt.
I don't go point what you are showing.
It is there. They let the camera show.
Yes.
Good.
So what are you saying?
I am saying that 890 for 2017. does it look like the figures you are seeing? Look at 2018. Look at 2018. The total is 2.6 billion. 2 billion of it is Eurobond. 650 million drawdown. Does it look like the figures we are seeing? Look at 2019. Do the figures look like? Don't sit in your room and cook numbers. Please. Come.
So that's a clarity. Can I get clarity? Hold on, guys. Hold on. What's the hold on, guys? No. So what's the difference?
I am not going somewhere.
I'm coming. This is the external loan disbursement by creditor for 2017 2018. What's the between that and what he showed?
What it means is that whatever he has done, he said they have drawn, should have gone through the budget and be reported here as drawdowns. Because you don't draw down for the sake of it, you draw down to implement the budget.
So you won't accept those documents, those numbers?
Listen to me. You don't draw down because somebody has put some figures somewhere. But I can show you the appendix to their own data. And here I want your cameraman to capture it. The appendix to your own data.
Open it now.
You can't just get
I'm not a traffic signal
sit in your room and be cooking data.
These are not my figures.
You see, you people are used to cooking data.
Ask you to go check. Go check.
This is an appendix to their own debt report.
I will buttress the point when he.
This is their own debt report. Does it look like any of the things he's put?
They didn't disagree it on date, on the years contracted.
So there are years there. You are not looking. There are years there.
Yes, what?
No. They just have creditor, project title,
and then what?
Outstanding disbursed debt.
Yes,
but they didn't mention the year.
Bernard, I want to challenge you to go to finance.
What I'm trying to ask them to Bernard, which finance ministry?
I don't go to finish this point. So
what I'm saying is this. Bernard.
Yes, please.
When you borrow money, and you are implementing a project, at the beginning of the year, you determine how much you are going to draw down from external sources, in addition to what you borrow afresh to fund the project. Nothing can happen outside of the budget. So, if you have been cooking data in your office,
I take exception to that.
And you have been generating data.
You can disagree with it, but you cannot sit here and accuse us of cooking data. And I think that you as a host have to.
Listen to me. It should be reflected in the documents submitted to Parliament. That is one. Bernard, that's one. Two, liability management that he's talking about. Very basic question. If you go to borrow money to do a liability management, where do you put the money? You put the money in the sinking fund. You know why? Because in the sinking fund, you are restricted. You cannot touch it per law. It has to go to pay debts. Now, let me give you the history of liability management under this government. In 2017, and here I have the 2017 debt management report to prove to you. In 2017, Honorable Ken Oforiatta got up one night and borrowed $2.25 billion. On that occasion, the equivalent was 9.7 billion. When you were in this country, he said it was meant for liability management. Take the 2017 liability debt management report and look at paragraph 47. In paragraph 47, we are told that in 2017, a total of 4.2 billion of short and medium-term domestic debts were reprofiled to long-term, and in addition, an amount of 2.5 billion held in the temporary personal fund account. Now, if you borrow 9.7 billion to do reprofiling, and you end up using only 4.2 billion, 5.5 billion is left, right? That 5.5 billion doesn't appear in your sinking fund. Where is it? You spent it on your budget. So today, because the IMF is saying that you can't do no concession more than a certain figure, you keep hiding behind liability management, borrow the money, you don't put it into sinking fund for restrictions, you put it in your reserve fund account and spend it on the budget. And you think that when you go and borrow, we should be respecting what you're saying. That is one. Two, Bernard, if you say you are doing liability management, very basic questions. If you owe me 1 billion and you are due to pay that money in a year's time, and you go and borrow 1 billion from somebody to come and wait for 1 year to pay that person, you will tell that person, well, I beg you, this 1 billion I'm borrowing because I will be paying 1 billion that is sitting here next year. So it is not counted as your public debt. Today, when we are paying interest on public debt, what do we pay on? Do we pay on 1 billion or we pay on 2 billion? So until you have reprofiled, you owe 2 billion. And the investor, you cannot be speaking this language to the investor that, your interest is due. But for this one, Ghana will not allow me because I still owe 1 billion. I haven't yet paid, and I collected your money to go and pay. And that is the reason you should allow me to keep that money until that time. 3.
Cassiel needs to make a point, and then
can I make a very quick mistake?
No, if you allow me.
30 seconds.
The ceiling. My friend says that the IMF gave them a ceiling of $5 million. Does he believe in what he said?
I didn't say $5 million.
You say how much?
You were not even listening.
You just said. What do you
think? It's 500 million.
It's $500
million. $500 million is what we're giving. That is a lie. You see, you just borrowed $2 billion to finance the budget. That is 4 times the figure you are quoting. Bernard, didn't we hear them borrow $2 billion to finance the same budget? Is that what you just said here? And you are saying IMF is saying that you can't borrow more than $500 million. Kojo, that is a palpable lie. And you can't sit on national TV.
Go ahead and do your
No, that is the truth.
No, you go
just to be clear, is that what you said?
That is what he said.
No,
I
have said that.
That is what you just said.
Let's clarify that.
Bernard, I make the point a second time.
Yes.
No, you can say what you want to use on me. I don't care.
I
cannot be looking the people in the face and say things that are not true.
Mr. Adongo, don't worry.
Okay, say what you want.
People have intelligence.
That's
and the man needs to, he's here to speak for himself.
I have said that under the IMF ECF, we were not allowed to do net commercial loans of more than 500 million.
So that's commercial?
Yes.
So this year, net commercial.
This year is 750 million. It's in the budget.
But that's different.
Check it out.
If
you choose to come,
even that I disagree. I'll come there. I'll clear that.
You can choose to come and all sorts of things.
No, I don't lie. I use your own documents.
It's in the budget.
No, but is that false? Is that false?
No, wait. I said wait. Let me.
No, but is that false?
No, I can say what. It's false. I want to show him that it's false.
Why is it false?
It is false. Bernard, let me say that I've been involved with this IMF discussion for years. Okay, and the IMF non-concessional limit excludes Eurobonds. So it will be a mistake.
This is your data.
It will be a mistake for anyone to come sit here.
Look at the commercial and then look at 2 billion reported on the commercial.
And then Isaac, let me come.
That's your own class.
You see, so if you are to pick the 500 million US dollars and create impression that 500 million is what you are adding to your net desktop is not correct, because it's that one only restricts you to commercial loan. Even that they gave us 2 waivers on that. The first waiver is on DPOs. DPOs are loans that you are getting from multilateral institutions. They are also commercial loans. It includes the World Bank loan, it includes the African Development Bank loan, and it includes the other one that they gave us waiver on. Also includes the Eurobonds. And so that alone, if you are not careful, you create wrong impression that you are only adding on to that. But then let me take you back to the
something from the IMF.
Yes, let me take you back to the
IMF. So I have the Ghana 7th and 8th review under the extended credit facility arrangement and request for waivers of non-observance under financing strategy and debt management. Let me just read 2 paragraphs on IMF. Aware of the risk of excessive debt accumulation, the authorities have decided to continue to adhere to the ECF debt limits for new external borrowing post-program. The Ministry of Finance has adopted a list of priority projects similar to the one supported under the program as basis to bring planning and discipline in managing requests from 9 ministries. Quick second point. With concessional financing not available to them, the authorities will continue to partly fund themselves through international markets in 2019.
That's it.
The government plans to issue a Eurobond in H1 2019 of up to $3 billion, of which $2 billion for budget financing and $1 billion for liability management operations. Now listen to this key part. The Eurobond issuance will not significantly raise external debt, which has fallen in the second half of 2018 due to exit of non-residents from the market, while it is expected to contribute to higher reserves, that mitigating public sector exchange rate risk. Staff recommended that part of the proceeds of the 2018 Eurobond be used to buy back maturing domestic securities held by foreign investors, given the challenging redemption profile over the next 18 months.
Thank you. Exactly the point I was trying to make. No, I'm not done. Please, I just came in.
No, I'm just reading what Isaac. I have a lot of documents. I have Kojo's document. I'm just reading what IMF just said to educate the public.
This is the Minister of Finance's own.
If I let me read more, since you're both
Public debt management.
It's my turn. Let
me just 500 million. Sorry. Okay. The financing strategy for 2019 also involves some securitization and use of revenues as collateral. Yeah. The government plans to monetize future revenues from gold royalties expected from 2020 onwards for a total amount of up to $500 million. In addition, GetFund was authorized to borrow up to the equivalent of $500 million for 3 years, backed by its earmarked sales tax to meet educational needs. The authorities assured that borrowing would not exceed the equivalent of $250 million and confirmed that funding would be used solely for budget spending. Staff cautioned against excessive debt collateralization and revenue monetization, as such operations create seniority among creditors and uncertainty over revenues in the medium term. So it's a medium line. They understand what the government is doing. Yes. They are cautioning them not to do it too much. Guys, look, I think we should just.
Why did they say 500? They shouldn't exceed 500.
I don't know what the report.
This is for you. Just read it.
No, you tell me.
My brother, I'm not the answering question. It's the public document.
I have 500, don't exceed 500.
This is end of Q1 IMF assessment of Ghana. So you just
okay. Let me go back to my last point.
Hold on. This gentleman has spoken. It's not fair.
But I'm not done.
His constituency is bigger than all of the constituencies. Keep quiet.
I'm not done.
Let me say this. As for the numbers, you can say whatever you want, but we have a country to govern and to manage. And to manage out of the crisis you took us through. And what he just read is to tell you exactly how we are doing it. Let me say this. The truth sometimes hurts. So when you see these numbers up there, you try to discredit it.
No, these are cooked up numbers.
They are not cooked. They can just stand it. That's one.
The data don't support what you
Does it also mean that if you look at this report you're showing you, the atomized loan, project by project, and we all sit in the finance committee and look at it and look at the purpose of the loan and look at the interest rate, what he just told us.
Kojo brought it.
Okay, please. That's why. And does it mean that you were not in the house or you were sleeping on your job?
Look for it.
You're asking me a question there.
No, it's not meant for you.
No, if you are asking me a question, I'll answer you.
So when you go out there and do propaganda with the truth, you will expose you on this platform.
This is the list of
look
all
at this.
the loans that have been borrowed.
Bernard, look at this. Let me say this. My friends in NDC, my own good friends, are they saying they don't understand what we call liability management? And to come and sit on this big platform and say, oh, if you borrow short-term to replace, if you borrow long-term to replace short-term, you haven't done anything. Are you sure? Do you know what it means?
It doesn't add to
Hold on. It doesn't add, but it has other benefits.
But we're not talking
Please.
We haven't even said that.
I don't make his point. That is what he read.
You see, you can't call for people. Just keep quiet. Let them talk. It doesn't matter. No. Just keep quiet. Just talk.
When we borrow to replace those short-term debt that are maturing, do you know what the implication is? Is to buy us time to fix the mess and to have opportunity to expand the tax base so everybody pays a little bit to help. It gives us time to block the leakages in the system. It allows us time without much pressure to also be able to provide the people's felt needs, pay compensation, goods and services, and do infrastructure, and even pay on the interest expense, for which, if you add 2019 with the estimates, we are close to about 40 billion in interest servicing alone. 40 billion Ghana cedis. Okay? So, debt reprofiling, you might think it's just replacing numbers with numbers. No! It gives you the opportunity to run the country. Managing the country is not chinchinka, or it's not Kalaole issues. Next, if you look at the report that Bernard just read, he said, we were trying to replace foreign debt with domestic borrowing. Do you know what it means? We avoid the issue of that foreign exchange risk.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
Depreciation of the city. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
But so the management is so common. Excuse my language. Don't do this. Sense to the point that you cannot just debate. For instance, my friends, my own friend, he came to press conference and said, MPP has gotten this much money. Revenue of X, tax, money of this, tax revenue of this, blah, blah, blah. You did not talk about the other side of the fiscal, which is revenue and expenditure. Today, lights are on, people are paid, goods and services run institutions, Okay. We have credit. So the point I'm making is that when you do a press conference and you decide to look at only one side of the coin, what are you doing to Ghanaians?
Let me read a round of comments. Then I'll give Cassiel the chance to wrap up. And then we'll give each person a minute to give their closing arguments. So here are some of the comments that have come through, quite a lot of them. Wow, this is I don't even know where to start from.
The whole show for the comments.
Bernard, I want to know why is it that our public debt stock keeps on increasing but not reducing? As a layman on the street, I know that if you owe somebody 30 billion cedis and you pay the interest and the principal, it will reduce. But I don't understand why is it that Ghana public debt keeps on increasing. Prince, because as we pay, we keep borrowing for new things. Oppong, Nkrumah, please try and save your future political career rather than destroying it in the name of defending Akufo-Addo. Bernard, good evening. Kojo from East Legon. Lawe from Dodoa. MPB has borrowed and showing lip service as an achievement, whereas NDC borrowed few, but we can see the massive infrastructures. This is Lawe. Eddie says, I'm surprised at the arguments from Kojo. The VP didn't negate the exchange rate differentials when he bashed the previous government of borrowing. He lumped everything and criticized them as incompetent. The same yardstick should be used for you. The change is effectively added by the current government. Very simple. But the program can close at 10 o'clock. You should try and close at 10:30. It's actually 10:36. We're still here. CTFM, great job. CCTV, great job. A good evening, comrade. Bernard, which type of economy are we running as a country? Gadgets-backed economy or consumption economy? Either way, what have they used our money for? Another promise Ghanaians that he's not going to borrow because we are sitting on wealth and abundance. It is Picasso.
Is there?
But it's a hashtag GM Victory 2020. Bernard, good evening. Tell Kojo Nkrumah to continue schooling the NDC Pharisees. Yes. Lapom from Wapilu. Maxwell in Sum says, Bernard, please ask your panelists if they are happy with the state of Ghanaian citizenry with this gargantuan money borrowed since long ago. 2 things any financial institution will disagree with Mr. Oppong Nkrumah. All public debts must be at today's exchange rate. 2, the transaction effect thing he's talking about is just like the Nantechi coefficient. Question from Sakumano. Listening to all this economic mesmerization and getting my grandmother confused, one question and answer I want to hear is, are we in debt distress or not?
We're not.
I actually have an IMF comment on that. Maybe I'll read that at the end. You want to know if you're in debt distress or not? It depends. That's the answer. Hello, Bernard. Thanks for the panel, but your 1 hour is too small. Okay, you've extended it. I have the conviction that the NDC has the right knowledge in managing the economy. The NDC borrowed to develop, and I can feel what they use it for. Higher in Dodoa. Why are the simple questions of this government spelling out what has been done with the incremental debt stock become a very difficult examination question to answer? Citizens without the usage of economic jargon. Evans Hellegberg Goldman. Bernard, good evening. But Bernard, all this brothel they are speaking, I don't understand though. All I know is that when I go to the pump, I pay more for fuel. When I am undertaking a foreign transaction, I spend more because of exchange rate. Let's fix the economy, David Sabote. Bernard, I'm enjoying the discussion ongoing in the studio. Very interesting issues from Peter in McCarthy Hill. Bernard, can we have a couple of infrastructure projects these borrowings have been used for? We need to trust our government. Kojo, there's a view that you spend a lot on free SHS, spend a lot on non-physical, because NDC's argument is in the Green Book.
Yeah.
So they bring the Green Book and they say they have built physical things as against consumption.
Yeah.
What are the top? You say 1D, 1F, 1 village, 1 dam. No, I think that I need an answer from the question. What is your predominant use of the borrowed funds?
And I think for me, I would use this as my wrap-up comment.
Yes, to wrap up.
Yeah. My joy is that tonight we've been able to show the point quite clearly that what our colleagues set out to do, which was to create a certain negative impression, is not the case. And there's a total breakdown that we can come to. The second argument that I would make is that spending as a government is not just about infrastructure projects all over. And I'll tell you a simple story. When the former administration said it was building a Dubai here in Accra and contracted a loan of about $300 and something million or so to build that Dubai here in Accra, 276 to build that Dubai here in Accra, there were hundreds of thousands of young Ghanaians across the country who didn't feel that in any way. This administration believes that there are programs, particularly, for example, such as free SHS, that rather goes to benefit hundreds of thousands of people and puts them at a place where they'll be better off in the near future. It's a choice. And the Akufo-Addo administration has made that choice that it will put its resources into developing people and giving people economic opportunity. If you look at some of these 100,000 young people who are now getting jobs, if you look at the 54,000 people who are now being recruited into the health services, if you look at the farmers who are being given support and are planting for food and jobs and agric output is going up. Of course, you won't see a bridge or a building somewhere, but you will see that their well-being has been impacted and has been invested in. It's a choice, and this is a choice that the Akufo-Addo administration has made. And we are happy that at the end of the day, we are able to show clearly that this claim that the 75 billion change in debt stock is because Akufo-Addo has on his own borrowed another 75. It's not true.
Cassiel, you have your final word.
Thank you, Bernard. Bernard, I'll request that you bring back the graph. And,
no.
1 minute. Yes. I just want to prove one point.
Okay, please put up the graph for Cassiel in his concluding argument.
And Bernard, I would ask you to check from the finance ministry. These are cooked up numbers.
Yes. The last graph you brought, put it up. The
official number.
That is where I'm going to make my final.
The controversial graph.
You tell your viewers whether they are cooked up or they are accurate numbers.
So they are putting it up.
They've already submitted their report.
Yeah.
They cannot be
anymore. I would wish, but
before it's coming.
Before they put it up.
Yes, it's there.
Yes.
It's there.
So Bernard, he said that in the year 2017, the drawdown amounting to 3.7 million.
Billion. Disbursement.
3.7 billion in terms of the disbursement of loans that they inherited.
Yes.
Okay. In the year 2011,
loans we inherited.
Okay, or in additional loans.
Let's be clear. The way he did it is from 2003 to 20.
All the way
to now.
Okay.
So
fine.
if you want to do before they came, you have to add it up to 2016.
Correct.
3.2.
Let me make a point.
Yes.
Let me make a point.
Yes.
The argument, if you are not careful, the impression is created that a total of 31.3 billion is what, as if the project loans, but this does not represent project loans. But I say this because if you look at 2019,
Eurobond is
2018, the 11.8 billion includes Eurobond of 8.8.
Yes, so it's not just project
so if you take that out, it's about 3 billion.
Good.
3 billion left.
Yes.
Okay, when you come to the 15.7 billion, Eurobonds alone is 15.2 billion. If you take that out, you are talking about 500 million. So if you are to put all of them together, the project loans amounting to approximately 6 point something, let's say 7 billion. So the question is, 7 billion out of 80 billion, what have you used the money for?
But that 80 billion
and
is
yes, it's about 80 billion. And this buttress the argument. Can you let me finish? I was quiet. The argument is that this buttress our argument that the money is going to consumption. This buttresses it. His own argument, granted that the graph is correct. Honorable Adongo has actually disproved the graph. But the argument is that, let's go back to the graph. It's only about 7 billion that you've used it for project loans and others. Nothing much to show. Bernard, the last point I want to make is that Honorable Chairman, his submission made reference to debt sustainability. And the argument is, if you can pay your debt, it doesn't actually matter. But unfortunately, the recently conducted debt sustainability analysis by both IMF and the World Bank proves that Ghana has breached all the 4 major indicators. 4. We've breached all of them. As we speak, if you look at the present value of our debt to our revenue, Ghana cannot repay its debt. As we speak, we borrow to service some of our debt. And so clearly, as it stands now, Ghana is not in a position to service its debt. Looking at the revenue levels. And what surprises me is that even in the forex part of the debt, you need forex. The foreign part of the debt, you need foreign currency. So for you to be able to assess whether you can pay it or you cannot pay it, there's one major threshold that you look at. You look at the country's ability to generate forex in terms of how much you earn. The amount of forex we earn is inadequate for us to service our debt. Today, the finance minister said to all of us, not long ago, that about 70% of our debt, 70% of our tax revenue is used to service our debt. This is because the debt is actually going high. It's increasing at an alarming rate. And so we are asking the government that
is increasing at a larger rate or revenue that's not growing as fast as it should?
Let me tell you that we do
not
have problems with revenue.
We've said before that debt to exports and debt to revenue is a more sensible way of analyzing debt sustainability than debt to GDP. But all of you seem to use debt to GDP when it suits you.
No.
So should we check? I'm just asking. So should we, going forward, at least on this program, let's use debt to revenue, debt to export, because that's where money is coming from. Because GDP, you can't liquidate all your GDP.
Exactly.
So are we saying that from going forward, you stop debt to GDP? Because debt to GDP doesn't mean anything.
Because
GDP can rebase. So you want money to pay debt. So you are looking at revenue.
The reality is that stakeholders do not use debt to GDP.
So why do Ghanaian politicians use it?
Stakeholders do not use debt to GDP to appraise.
Yes.
they use the debt sustainability indices, and it's 4. And that indices is when we are going out there to borrow,
so
people look at all of that.
So you use all of it.
So it's not just your debt to GDP.
Go for it.
There are other things.
Good.
And that is why I'm cautioning this administration that the fact that you borrow for consumption will not help this country. And he keeps on telling us that yes, you can go and borrow. You borrow to do what? To do what? You are borrowing for consumption. It's only about 7 billion that you've, in terms of project loan. Everything else, that's not what you could account for, unfortunately. So then to conclude,
yes,
my good friend Kojo Oppong Nkrumah has succeeded in telling Ghanaians that President Akufo-Addo, out of the 80 billion, he's used only about 7 billion for the purposes of project loans.
I haven't said that.
From your graph, that is what you said.
It's your own concoction.
So clearly, there is nothing to show, and that buttresses the argument. In spite of the fact that you have had approximately 12.3 billion Ghana cedis in terms of oil revenue.
Would you guys prefer to mention some of the infrastructure projects?
So tell us.
Because
Ghanaians need to know.
Not necessarily infrastructure.
Yes. We have started clearly on investing in the...
And I've been very charitable not to go back to mention they have done.
Some of the things you've used the monies for. Just as a breakdown.
Let me say this. I sincerely believe that my friend, honorable members of parliament on the other side, NDC, have problems with the numbers in classification, especially when you go and write to IMF to say that Sino Hydro deal is loan, and they say it's not loan.
No, IMF never said that.
So sorry, I was there when they said that at finance committee.
No.
Oh, they gave conditions. When you were talking, I was here.
They gave conditions.
And you come and just sit here and add your own numbers together and tell us that you've actually borrowed more than what you're saying. By the way, today.
Let me just read out to clarity.
Hold on.
The authorities have been working on a large off-balance transaction to be collected through an SPV. This would involve provision of infrastructure by Sino Hydro against refined bauxite proceeds. Box 5. The discussion during the review focused on the need to ensure that the cost and the risk to the government balance sheet are fully understood and mitigated. Costs include required investment to build capacity to refine bauxite, and risks include delayed transfer of obligations to SPV. Staff emphasized that even if the transfer is executed in the event of development of bauxite lags, staff emphasized that before proceeding, the authorities should be comfortable that the arrangement is fully mapped out and consistent with their sustainability.
That's it.
That too can be transparently monitored and managed, and three will deliver value for money. So the IMF is always giving.
No, but the question is,
I don't want us to be scolded.
Right.
So that's just.
I was there at the finance committee.
This is what they've written in paper.
Oh, but I was there.
But it's neither here nor there. Really.
Exactly. So he cannot come here and sit and begin to add some numbers. By the way, over 100,000 people are employed right now. Government institutions run.
Under what?
In which program?
I'm just talking about the spending side of the budget.
Okay.
All right? We have lights on, respective of the debt level. We're borrowing and increasing the debt from 9.5 billion to 122 billion or 120 billion, you may put it. What was happening to our lights? Right? What was happening?
So you use the money to fix the light, to keep the light on?
If I don't know anything at all, just one example. Bantuma today, in our history, have asphalted roads. Bantima, over 200,000 student people are going to school, free senior high school. You call it chop chop. Am I chop chop? My parents borrowed to finance my education. You call me chop chop? I am not. I am actually an investment to my family. Right? So
paying people's school fees free.
So don't call it.
It's an investment for you.
Anyway,
it's not consumption.
Even go to Japan.
That's an interesting point.
Japan said I was in Japan.
An interesting point.
Please, I was in Japan in last year November. Right? I attended the World Global Conference for Accountants in Japan. If they should put their balance sheet together, they said the cost of raising people to add to the labor force. You're talking about education of all forms, skill training, and all that. It's investment in the consumption. You sit here and call it your chop. Am I chop chop? I'm not. No, it's just a matter of propaganda.
Cost of education is investment.
Today,
in your definition.
Small businesses,
investment in people.
Senior, small businesses borrow at the rate of 21 to 25%. I borrowed under NDC at 35%. I don't do that anymore. I have a small business that employs over 300 people. All right? And I used to buy fuel of 12,000 Ghana cedis a week under NDC. I don't do that anymore.
But fuel prices have gone up.
Regardless, What was happening?
To consume this.
Do you know the relationship between fuel prices in Ghana and that of the global market and the NDC? They were inversely related. When the price in the world was going down, NDC was making it go up. Today, we follow the world. All right? So this is not an argument of going to sit and do a press conference full of propaganda and you come and sit here now face to face. Let's talk. You cannot do that anymore.
We are talking with you.
The data is there.
You couldn't prove anything.
No, prove what? So I am saying institutions are running. We are not in debt distress as you put it out there.
Oh, really?
Yes, you said Ghana is in debt distress. We are not. So the point I'm making is that we have the people of Ghana's mandate to run this country. By the way, Bernard,
yes.
Are you gonna measure it over 2 years on achievement on assets that we have done or not?
So more infrastructure is coming.
Do you have tsunami of infrastructure? Roads.
A tsunami of infrastructure is coming.
Okay. Yeah. So and we don't have mandate of 2.5 years. It is 4 years to say that. By the way,
so the roads are coming.
I think President Mama that said that if governance is all about rules, hospitals, and all that, education, it's an exercise in mediocrity. Today, you want us to clap for you because of what? At what cost?
So, Honorable, thank you. I don't go. Let me give you your comments, your time.
Yes, Bernard. I think today it's been very clear that they are struggling to show where the monies have gone. And I want to make this emphatically clear that all governments in Ghana over the years have supported education. And they have believed that education is very important.
We have given 1.5 billion to support it.
But Bernard, we are talking about how much we have borrowed and what we have used it for. We haven't used our borrowed funds for free SHS. That has to be very clear. Yeah. We haven't used our borrowed funds for free SHS.
So we have done well.
We have funded our free SHS through our tax revenue. Mm-hmm. But we are not asking you the borrowed funds. What have you used it for? I have also heard about borrowed funds and loans. Bernard, I want you to understand one.
Budget support.
Anytime the Bank of Ghana reports our debt numbers, the Bank of Ghana is reporting the narrow view of our public debt. Because it is not all the debts of Ghana and the borrowings of Ghana that the Bank of Ghana is privy to. So there are transactions that you have just listed here. The Get Fund is going for $1.5 billion. That is not a debt that will be sitting on the books of the Bank of Ghana.
Against what?
That is the broader view that the Ministry of Finance and the agencies, departments, and institutions are sitting on borrowed funds that are not with the Bank of Ghana.
Guaranteed by something.
So when you take that,
guaranteed
you
by
take
something.
all these royalties that you are going to borrow, $750 million. You are talking about all the encumbrances. If you think about the energy sector levy, bonds and all of that, if you put all of that together and you add it to what Bank of Ghana is reporting, I'm surprised they are worried about Bank of Ghana's numbers. The numbers are very staggering. And like my honorable ranking member said, we are looking at almost 120 billion additional borrowing that they cannot show anything other than free SHS that we ourselves are paying at 3 billion. They are now, and I want to mention this point that for anybody to say that when we are assessing how much we have borrowed and what our debt stock is, we are looking at only concessionary loans is misleading. And that person purely doesn't even understand what is adding up to another. Because 500 million of concessionary loans doesn't mean that all the other loans that you have borrowed have suddenly disappeared. Your domestic loans that have gone up by almost 40 billion will disappear because of 500 million. And so at the end of the day,
let's explain the numbers.
All the attempts,
invite us.
All the attempt to hoodwink the people of Ghana and bring, listen, the Ministry of Finance has already submitted to Parliament its annual debt management report. It cannot now be cooking other data.
We all have seen this.
It cannot now be cooking other data to justify questions we have asked of his own report. And when we
invite us at a press conference.
When they met us at committee, we asked them these questions. They never provided this document that Kojo has suddenly stumbled upon.
Okay.
The document
I wanted to end with now. I wanted to end with guys.
The people that have sent you to do propaganda. I have not made foundational form. I only know this one because this one.
Please get me the IMF.
They brought you here to come and bring some other data other than the data we all know.
Please put the IMF extracts on. Let me just read. Let me just read. Can you permit me to
So
finish the
it's
program?
different when you do press conference versus when you sit here.
Can you permit me to finish the program? Yes, so let me just read what IMF is saying on 6 aspects of our economy. The current account position has significantly improved, largely reflecting strong commodity exports. Though pressures on the financial account in second half of 2018 has taken a toll on external buffers. So that's point 1. So what IMF does is that there's good, but be careful. So this is point 1. Current account balance, net international reserves, both rising. Give me the second slide. No, this is the third one. Give me the second one. Growth has rebounded. Yes. Growth has rebounded on the back of oil production and is expected to remain strong. Our economy is growing. Inflation has also fallen within the BOG inflation band as central bank financing of budget was discontinued. This is nice. Give me the last one. Now they say the underlying fiscal position has improved, though the financial sector cleanup has generated large one-off costs that have also affected debt dynamics. So look on the right.
But the NDC claims improvement is cooked up.
No, I'm just telling you what the IMF is saying. So let's just wrap this up. So they are questioning all of us.
Yes.
The underlying fiscal position, guys, I'm doing my wrap up. The underlying fiscal position has improved, though the financial sector cleanup has generated large one-off costs that have affected debt dynamics. Kojo, everybody here, the IMF is cautioning us that we are not out of the woods yet.
Of course.
And that we need to be careful with 2 things. The effect of the banking sector cleanup on our long-term prospects. We should also be careful with the 2 billion in the way we manage it.
Yes.
But I think the big question for everybody is that we've contracted loans.
Yes.
At the end of the day, people's lives must improve.
Of course.
So the argument shouldn't be about who has borrowed more or who has borrowed less. It's about how people are moved out of poverty.
We have not
which I think all of us have to agree.
We have not even made that argument.
Yes,
about more than
we are responding.
We concede that there are risks that must be managed, and that is why you notice that we put in place fiscal responsibility.
Yes. So I'm just putting to all of it
to ensure. To ensure,
people argue that
can I make my argument?
No. We have all finished.
To ensure that we don't live those risks that they are talking about. And that's what we are making.
Bernard, let me read 3 messages. Bernard, good job. As for me, I know 10 minus 4 is equal to 6. Irrespective of what you explain, because exchange rate effects are held constant in all regimes. Please, next time, add John Jinapot and I'm able to explain our power generation too. I think you should break what the honorable members are saying. I don't understand what they are saying. Patrick from Kumasi. It's probably in your constituency. Roger from Sudan.
He doesn't understand it.
Kojo and Bantama MP are giving excuses. If the new work cost debt increase, why didn't they segregate the same in the debt stock in 2016? Final comment. Bernard, we need part 2 of this debate.
No problem.
I don't know how
we'll
see how that. But look, I think I'm just trying to say that you are all members of parliament. People look up to you.
In the finance committee.
So at the end of the day, we've borrowed 198 billion cedis. People need to know what has changed in their lives for both of you. But I thank you. My guests have been from the left. The Honorable Isaac Adongo is a member of parliament for Bolgatanga Central, and he's also a member of the finance committee. We also have Honorable Kojo Oppong Nkrumah, MP for Ofuasin Ayerebi, who is also the Minister for Information. Then we have Cassiel Forson, who is the spokesperson on finance, ranking member of the finance committee, and MP for Ejumaku Enyan Isiam. And then we have my brother, the Honorable Ochem Abuaji, MP for Bantama, also member of the finance committee.
Look, he's also a government spokesperson
on finance.
Yes.
So thank you very much for, as they say in Parliament, thank you very much for attending upon this committee. We hope to make it a standing committee in the next quarter for our next quarter review. But thank you, gentlemen, and let's make Ghana great again. My name is Bernard Avile. Have a good night.
Point of View is brought to you in association with Stanbic Bank, moving forward, and Glofert Company Limited, growing growth.